It started on a cold morning at Fort Bragg, North Carolina, when a new batch of candidates arrived for the U.S. Army's elite sniper training program. Among them was a young woman named Claire Mitchell, 24 years old, quiet, composed, and carrying a rifle case that looked almost too big for her frame. The air was filled with laughter and banter as the men around her sized her up, whispering, "What's she doing here?" To them, sniper school wasn't a place for someone like her, not because she lacked skill, but because she broke an unspoken rule, that the sniper line was a man's world. The program was brutal, designed to break down even the toughest soldiers. The dropout rate was over 70%. Days began before dawn, runs with heavy packs, hours of crawling through mud and brush, every heartbeat echoing under the weight of precision and patience. Claire didn't react to the whispers or the smirks. She just adjusted her cap and fell in line. Her background was a mystery to most of them. She didn't talk much about her past, only that she'd served 2 tours as a spotter overseas, and that she was here because she'd seen what a good sniper could do, save lives. From the outside, she looked too calm, too soft-spoken, but under that quiet was steel. During introductions, one instructor, Master Sergeant Hawkins, gave her a long stare, his tone half mocking when he said, "You sure you're in the right class, Mitchell?" Claire's reply was simple, "Yes, Sergeant," not defiant, not meek, just steady, and that tone unsettled a few. Training began immediately, stalking drills through thick forest, wind-reading exercises, ballistics theory, camouflage so perfect that even instructors walked past you without noticing. She wasn't the fastest, she wasn't the strongest, but she was methodical. Her hands never shook when she assembled her rifle, her eyes never wavered from the target board. While others joked and complained, Claire watched and learned, each day grinding quietly, while around her, the laughter faded a little more, because soon enough, her name started showing up near the top of every accuracy test, and that's when people began to pay attention. By week 3, the instructors pushed them into the field for the isolation test, a 5-day solo exercise designed to test endurance, stealth, and mental strength. No contact, no support, just survival and precision. Each candidate had to reach a checkpoint deep in the woods, identify a hidden observer, and deliver a perfect simulated shot. Failure meant expulsion. Many didn't even make it through the first 2 days. Dehydration, exhaustion, and disorientation took them out. Claire didn't just survive, she adapted. She set up a small observation hide at dawn, watching patterns, light shifts, and shadows. She wrote notes in a waterproof pad, calculating wind drift by watching leaves instead of using meters. She'd learned that trick in Afghanistan, where batteries failed and silence meant survival. While others moved recklessly, she moved like a shadow, slow and patient. When the final moment came, she located the observer, hidden in dense cover over 700 meters away. Most missed the shot, a few got close. Claire's round struck dead center of the target board, right between the markings that instructors used to gauge near misses. When they confirmed her hit, silence rippled across the field. One of the sergeants muttered, "Damn, that's clean." Even Hawkins, the instructor who doubted her, raised an eyebrow at the end of that phase. Out of 24 trainees, only 9 remained, and Claire was one of them. That night in the barracks, the air was quieter. Some gave her nods of respect, others avoided eye contact, but the dynamic had shifted. She'd proven that she wasn't just there to pass, she was there to dominate. What no one knew was that Claire's calm came from somewhere darker. Her older brother, a Marine sniper, had been killed by a counter-sniper overseas 2 years earlier. She joined this course not to prove a point, but to understand, to master the skill that took her brother's life. And though she never said it aloud, that purpose burned behind every trigger pull, every breath, every calculation she made under pressure. The shooting range at dawn was where reputations were built or destroyed. This phase tested pure precision under pressure. Wind, humidity, temperature, even mirage, all could shift a bullet by inches, and inches mattered. Instructors called it the range of truth, because you couldn't fake skill here. Claire's classmates tried to shake her confidence. One slipped a sarcastic comment, "Bet you'll miss when it counts." She ignored it, adjusted her bipod, checked her scope, and waited for the wind to settle. The target was set at 1,000 meters, an almost impossible distance for most trainees. Her rifle, an M2010, gleamed under the morning sun, modified with her own adjustments for balance. As the command came, "Engage," rifles thundered across the line, echoing off the trees. Through the scope, she watched her bullet arc, travel, and land with near-perfect precision. Dead center, a red flag popped up, marking her as first hit confirmed. The range officer muttered into his radio, "Mitchell, confirmed hit, 1,000 meters. Over the next few minutes, others fired, some missed entirely, some barely grazed the edges. Hawkins approached her lane, knelt beside her, and said quietly, "That was no fluke, was it?" She replied simply, "No, Sergeant." Hawkins just nodded and walked off, but his tone was different now, not mockery, but recognition. Footage from the exercise later made it to the instructor's archive, and even senior officers reviewed it. They said her composure under wind shifts and recoil delay was textbook perfect. That kind of calm could only come from someone who understood fear intimately, who had stared it down enough times to master it. That day changed the tone of the entire course. The laughter was gone, replaced by silence whenever she stepped to the line. No one dared underestimate her again, because her bullet didn't just hit the target, it set a new benchmark for accuracy under test conditions. Week 5 was the psychological phase, the part no one ever prepared for. Sleep deprivation, hunger, isolation, every weakness exploited. Instructors shouted, insulted, pushed them to mental collapse, and it worked. Some snapped. One trainee threw down his rifle and walked away. Another broke into tears after missing a basic drill. Claire kept going, her breathing steady, her eyes sharp. The men who mocked her before now watched her endurance in silence. The instructors noticed too. Hawkins even stopped testing her patience. He started testing her leadership, making her call commands under pressure, assigning her to guide pairs through night navigation exercises, and she excelled, not because she wanted authority, but because she knew when to stay quiet and when to act. By the end of that week, she had earned something far rarer than praise, respect. Still, the final challenge was coming, the one that separated the good from the legendary, the record shot, a 2,047.55-meter target, the longest confirmed training range in the program's history. Most never even attempted it, and no one had ever hit dead center. The instructors said it was there to humble even the best. That distance tested not just skill but belief, because wind drift, air density, and even Earth's curvature came into play. It was a shot that seemed almost mythical. Claire said nothing when they announced it, but something flickered in her eyes, a mix of quiet defiance and focus. The others doubted her again, saying, "That's too far, even for her," but she just smiled faintly and began checking her rifle specs, calculating ballistics by hand. She didn't want to just try, she wanted to make the impossible real. The morning of the record test arrived. Grey clouds hung low, wind shifting unpredictably. Most instructors thought they'd cancel, but Hawkins said, "No, this is perfect." The challenge was simple. One bullet, one chance. At 2,475 meters, Claire lay prone on the ridge, her ghillie suit blending perfectly into the terrain. The world around her went still. She slowed her breathing, feeling her heartbeat sink with the wind. Time seemed to stretch. Through her scope, the target shimmered in the distance like a ghost, barely visible through the mirage. She adjusted her dope settings, compensated for spin drift, elevation and crosswind, then exhaled slowly, squeezed the trigger. The rifle kicked. A thunderclap echoed across the valley. Everyone watched, waiting. The bullet traveled for nearly 4 seconds, an eternity in sniper time, and then faintly a metallic ping. The spotter raised his binoculars and froze. The red flag shot up, hit confirmed, dead center, the impossible distance. The record stood shattered. Silence fell, no cheers, no words, just disbelief. Hawkins lowered his headset and whispered, "Jesus Christ, she did it." Someone muttered, "That's never been done before." It wasn't luck, it wasn't fluke, it was precision born of obsession. Claire stayed motionless for a moment, then finally exhaled, not from pride but release, as if she'd been holding that shot for years. The other trainees stood stunned. The same soldiers who once laughed now looked at her like they were seeing a ghost. Even the instructors clapped, something that almost never happened. That shot became official in the records, verified, documented, and archived. A new standard for sniper excellence set by the woman they once dismissed. News of her record spread beyond the base faster than anyone expected. Instructors, officers, and even veterans across units talked about it. The girl who hit 2,475, they said. The footage was reviewed by military analysts and shared during advanced ballistics lectures. Claire didn't seek attention, but it found her anyway. Interviews were requested, articles written, yet she turned them all down. She didn't want to be known for being the first woman, she wanted to be known for being the best. Hawkins approached her after training one evening and said, "You've changed more minds here in a few weeks than I have in years." She smiled slightly and replied, "I just wanted to shoot," and that was the truth. But even in her quiet victory, there was still weight behind her eyes. Her brother's memory was still there, like a ghost watching over every shot she took. On graduation day, she stood at the far end of the formation, receiving her certificate of completion. The same men who once mocked her now saluted her, and Hawkins, who rarely showed emotion, shook her hand and said, "You earned every inch of that range." Her name went up on the record wall, Mitchell C. 2,475 meters, etched in metal, a mark of precision and persistence that couldn't be denied. But to her, the real reward wasn't the record, it was knowing she'd pushed the limits of discipline, patience and focus. She'd proven something to herself, that pain could be turned into purpose, that even in a place built on toughness, calm could be the sharpest weapon of all. Months later, Claire was assigned to an operational sniper unit overseas. The terrain was brutal, the missions complex, but her precision earned her reputation quickly. Soldiers began requesting her as Overwatch, saying, "If Mitchell's got the scope, we're safe." Her calm under fire became legendary. During one mission in the mountains, she neutralized a hostile sniper team, pinning down her squad, a perfect countershot through fog and wind at nearly 2 kilometers. The same patience, the same control, no wasted movement. After that, her commanding officer said, "She doesn't miss," and she didn't. Her name spread quietly through the ranks, not as a symbol, but as proof that skill didn't care about gender or rank off duty. She rarely talked about herself, just trained, refined, learned, and every now and then at dusk, she would line up her rifle on a makeshift range, adjust her scope and take a single shot, watching it hit home, every bullet a conversation with the past she'd finally mastered. Though she never said it, the 2,475-meter shot had changed her life, not because of fame, but because it proved that control, mental and emotional, could conquer everything, even the ghosts that haunted her. Years later, the record still stood. New candidates would whisper her name during orientation. "You know about Mitchell, right? The one who broke the range record." Instructors would nod silently, replaying her footage for every new class, using her calm as the example of what a real sniper looked like. Claire had long since moved into training roles, guiding the next generation, quieter, older, wiser. When recruits asked her how she did it, she would just say, "Patience, discipline, and knowing when to breathe," nothing more, no long speeches, no glory. She lived simply, off base in a small cabin surrounded by woods, still training, still watching the wind. Sometimes she'd visit Fort Bragg, standing quietly near the record wall, her name still there, untouched, and then she'd leave without a word. The same calm she'd arrived with all those years ago, back when they laughed at her, back when no one believed she'd even last a week. Time had proven them all wrong. Her shot had done more than break a record, it redefined what was possible, and though she never sought recognition, her story spread wherever precision and patience mattered. The lesson remained the same. Greatness doesn't shout, it whispers through focus, discipline, and one perfect shot, taken when the world least expects it.